Now, for more on the bilateral ties between China and Portugal, we're joined by Remi Piet, Director at America's Market Intelligence. Welcome back to the show.
My pleasure.
So how would you characterize the current state of China-Portugal relations?
Well, it's actually very interesting because Portugal is the fourth country on the tour after Argentina, Panama, and Spain. But in the case of Portugal, the relation between China and Portugal actually have a long history. And it's become even more important after the 2008 crisis because Portugal was very eager to get additional investment, and China came and swooped in and actually offered help to Portugal. So as of today, China already has 25% of the electricity grid in Portugal, and they acquired the largest energy company called Energia de Portugal. We actually offered them a large stronghold not only in Portugal, but also in Latin America. By acquiring Energia de Portugal, they actually acquired also 8 power plants in Brazil, for example. So we're seeing here between China and Portugal not only a long-standing relationship, but also really a relay and a bridge towards Latin America inside the Belt and Road Initiative.
And as you said, you're looking at 40 years of diplomatic relations between these two countries, a long history. And we saw the President Xi said that Chinese-Portuguese relations are entering their best period in history. What are some of the sectors you think that will drive future ties?
Well, obviously, energy is going to be a strong factor here because of the stronghold, not only, as I said, in Portugal, but also towards Latin America. There's also a lot of knowledge and technical know-how in Portugal in the sector of engineering, for example, infrastructure, all those different sectors that are part of this, incredible initiative of Belt and Road Initiative. So Portugal, therefore, has really a compatible interest for China and can be really a pawn inside the strategy of China to just foster more links toward not only Southern Europe, but as I was saying, Latin America in this case.
So let's break that down a bit in terms of how key Portugal is in terms of its strategic location, not just to the China's Belt and Road Initiative and the Maritime Silk Road, but also the EU and, as you mentioned, Latin America. Where are the main opportunities you see?
Well, you see an opening towards the European market. The port of Sines not only welcomes a series of imports from the Atlantic, but is also a key infrastructure component in the map of infrastructure in Europe. But as I was saying, towards Latin America, when you've seen the tour from Xi in Argentina and then Panama, most of the containers going through the Panama Canal, where President was actually present recently, then actually arrived to the Sines port and then actually allows the imports from Chinese companies and factories inside Europe. So you really see here the attempt from the Chinese to have more influence in European affairs, both politically and economically, but also in Latin American affairs.
And what would you say are some of the challenges and the benefits that come with these closer ties, not just between the two, but also for China's broader aspirations in Europe?
Well, the challenges are always in terms of understanding the local politics and the local economics of countries where Chinese companies invest. In the case of Portugal, actually the framework and the regulation is fairly favorable for foreign investment, especially Chinese investment since 2008. But when you see companies from China investing in Southern Europe or in Latin America through Portugal, they also need to understand the real structure in terms of local politics, economic and social situation in order to be able to have sustainable and long-term investment and not only a short-term vision. Now, that's exactly what is the strategy inside the Belt and Road Initiative, is not only fostering short-term interest through infrastructure deal, but really going forward towards developing this as a medium for long-term, both political and economic co-development between China and partners.
So what about the companies themselves? What sort of access are Chinese and Portuguese businesses looking for in each other's markets?
Well, in the case of Portugal, it is obviously foreign investment. Portugal is a country that has rebounded since the 2008 crisis, but is still eager to multiply potential partners and find source of capital to increase potentially the development of technology. And that very technology is what Chinese companies are interested in. In the case of Spain and in Portugal today, we're seeing a workforce that is very highly educated, a series of technological know-how and patents, especially in the energy sector, in the engineering and infrastructure sector. There are companies and sectors where China will benefit from investing more massively. And as I was saying also, again, in the case of Spain and Portugal, it is this gateway towards Latin America, which is a continent that offers so many opportunities for Chinese companies, as long as they understand how to navigate both in terms of diplomatic circles, but also community management in different countries, Argentina, Brazil, Chile, Peru, all those countries that are very interesting to the foreign policy and economy of China, thanks to commodities and energy sources, but that need to be really understood at the roots of each social issues.
And just quickly, as we look at this 40-year history, what would you say was the biggest turning point in this relationship?
Well, there's been two main turning points. Obviously, the agreement on Macau has actually already built some political understanding between the two countries. But the 2008 crisis that really led to financial needs from Portugal, and when China actually stepped in fairly quickly to help the Portuguese economy, has already created an economic understanding between China and Portugal. And as a result, you have a regulatory framework of foreign investment that is fairly more favorable to China than there is in other countries. And therefore, Portugal becomes a natural partner to China, both politically and economically, but also strategically towards Latin America and Southern Europe in terms of being a gateway towards those markets.
All right, thank you so much. Remi Piet, the director at America's Market Intelligence.